Mike Finn. So if you have a question, get your hand raised and we'll work our way down the lineup. But Mike Finn's good to see you. Let it fire, buddy.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for joining us. Tom, I just want to talk a little more about Spencer Lee before we move on. Because of the fact that he was not able to wrestle, did it actually show that what he went through last March was actually even more difficult than what he talked about? Then also with that in mind, did he not sacrifice himself last year personally for Iowa's goals?
It's well documented. My respect for Spencer Lee, this program's respect, my brother's respect, respect for the family. You cannot say it enough, his sacrifices. You cannot say it enough, the courage that he has and will have to have, regardless. So he's endeared to Hawkeye fans because of his winning ways, and he's endeared to Hawkeye fans because of much, much more than that, and that cements, your legacy as basically a living legend. And you're not even done competing yet, maybe. And am I overstating that? I don't think so. I don't think so.
What was the turning point in Florida that made you guys decide that it was time to have the surgery?
I'm not going to get into that. The turning point in Florida there was no turning point in Florida. The path that you're on is evaluated every day, and sometimes more than every day, sometimes more than once a day. And Spencer's comments, I think they document very well, what he's gone through, and it's not going to work. It's not going to work. There's an injury there, without getting into privacy stuff, but there's an injury there that it doesn't work. It doesn't work. He made it work, and under dire circumstances, and he persevered last March, and it's not going to work. So that's where we're at.
Next question from KJ Pilcher. Can't hear you, KJ. You doing all right, buddy? All right, we'll move on to next question from Cody. KJ, we'll circle back. Go ahead, Cody.
Coach, from your perspective, what was the conversation like with Spencer when it came to, making the decision to get surgery?
The conversation has been every day, we're evaluating. I'm not going to get into the particulars. This is something that is it's a decision made by a team of people evaluating it every day. And at the end of the day, when you get to a decision like this, everybody wants to be let in on it, but to let you all in on it, and I'm talking to the entire world that wants to be in on it, you have to go back to when I first knew about it, when he walked off the mat after his Big Ten Finals match in State College, Pennsylvania, when he whispered in my ear and said, "Hey, I think I just tore my other ACL." That's where you got to go back to it with people. And that's not to be a jerk, but there is so much that goes into these things with individuals and elite level minded athletes or just people in general. It's not a cavalier decision for him. It wasn't an easy decision or a decision that that is, let's just make the decision, and whatever decision we make, we're going to go with it. It was constant evaluation, and we're where we're at because of that.
Next question from KJ. I think every time KJ tries to unmute, he loses connection. So we'll go to Mike Halas.
Ballpark it for me, Tom. What percentage of wrestlers have you known that would have continued to compete at Lee's level the way he did after that day at State College?
I don't know that it's unprecedented, but in my mind, it's unprecedented. I know wrestlers in this program that have been ACL deficient, that have competed and had success. I don't know anyone that was ACL deficient in two knees. He's a competitive guru. He's a high-minded individual, and he wears his emotions on his sleeve a lot of times, and I think that favors him in situations where there's a real crisis, and you have to persevere. I cannot say it enough on the courage or the determination and the forethought in a quick amount of time to continue into that national tournament and then go win the title. And there were so many things that he was doing it for. He did it for himself first, for sure. And you have to do it for yourself first. But he did it for a lot of other people too, and he did it very unselfishly for a lot of other people. And I said it back in March, and he made a lot of Hawkeye fans happy because we did win the team title. That is important to our fan base. It is important to the program, but we didn't have a champion. And we had two guys that had fallen short in overtime bouts, and he made a lot of people happy by doing what he did. And you cannot say it enough. So that's an answer to your question. I can't give him enough credit. I can't.
Circle back to Cody.
What is going to go into the decision to figure out who's going to be at 125 pounds moving forward?
Well, moving forward at 125 pounds, we have Jesse Ibarra. He's wrestled this year when Spencer was not on the mat. We have a true freshman that's done well with his results consistently throughout the early part of this year. And we have two options there, and we like having options. And right now, Ibarra's going. And that's where we're at. I mean, we'll figure it out as we figure out. Ayala just got back from Southern Scuffle on Monday. He drove all night to get back to town, and we saw him in the room yesterday, and I saw him in the room this morning. He was in a drill with Schriever and Terry Brands, and that's right on time. So he's operating consistently like he has since he got on campus.
What did you take away from Drake's performance? What did you like about it? When he was down at the Scuffle.
All year he's been consistent. He's hungry. He knows that this sport takes commitment. He comes from a great place that emphasized that basically his entire life, his family, the people that trained him, his own mindset, how it developed. We absolutely love his leadership. I watched him as a junior and senior in high school when we were recruiting him, and watched how much respect it was just automatic toward him. Soft-spoken, but demands that you pay attention to him. No drama. And then you look at the exit interview that he did leaving Fort Dodge in their local newspaper, and what he said and some of his quotes there will stick with me forever with him, because he was basically charging those left in Fort Dodge to take out everybody, take them all out, all comers, in all sports, in all things. And that's the kind of guy he is. He's a leader.
Tom, we will circle back to Mike Finn.
Tom, a little change of pace here on this thing. What's happened with Arizona State? They've had to alter their thing because of COVID. There's some other programs that are dealing with it. Are you concerned at anything like, here we go again, this is an issue that wrestling may have this postseason?
We control what we can control. We tell our guys that. For me to say that I don't have an eye on what's going on, that would be in error, but we control what we can control. I operate the same way. I know that there's protocol snags out there, and we're going to work through those any way we can with doing things that keep our net as small as possible so we don't get any interruptions in our training or our competition. And if interruptions happen, then we'll roll with it. And we have a group of guys in that wrestling room that I'm speaking for, that I can speak for. All they want to do is compete, and they're going to get ready to compete. And when they're told that, hey, there's going to be a little bit of a schedule change, then they'll roll with it as well, just like they had to, with the Midlands being canceled, and then the Hawkeye Open, and then the Hawkeye Open not going, and Midlands was going, and we ended up in the Southern Scuffle with basically the same group that was going to compete in the original Midlands, and that's because we're steady. That's because we operate that way, and we're very steady.
Has the Big Ten or the NCAA put any correspondence with y'all at all, just to remind you of anything? Or?
Yeah, I mean that's boring stuff because we've been through this so much. We had a phone call yesterday with Big Ten coaches group, and we have emails today, and so we're all just ready for when there is a decision. And right now there's nothing that's really earth-shattering that's changing, and it's great. And for Arizona State and Michigan to get 4 matches in what was going on down there, I applaud them. I applaud that. I mean, make something good come out of this. I mean, don't just shut it down. And I saw Zeke Jones was interviewed. I didn't listen to that interview. I'm going to go back and listen to that interview because I want to know, that, hey, that's good stuff there. I mean, let's get something going, even if, we're at an all-time peak right now. But young people were meant to compete. They weren't guaranteed that things aren't going to be interrupted, but they were meant to compete, and they were meant to live their lives with gusto and with energy. And when bad things happen, you keep going. And that's what we're doing, and we got a room full of those guys.
Thanks, Tom.
KJ, if you got a connection, we'll go to you, buddy. All right.
Okay, I cannot hear you. I don't know if anybody else can. I cannot hear you. I hear pinging.
I'll try and help you out, KJ. He texted me, one of his questions was he wanted to know how the room responded to the Spencer Lee news.
How the what responded?
How the guys.
It's funny how wrestlers are. They're focused on themselves, and they love their teammates, and okay. And it wasn't like, hey, oh, poor us. It was like, okay. And I remember when I announced it to the room, the guys were in the Southern Scuffle because it was starting to get out. And so I announced it to the guys that were back, and that was basically our number ones. And I said, Spencer Lee's opting for season-ending surgery. I want to get it to you guys before you hear it because it's getting out. And Spencer, would you like to say anything? And he went like this, and everybody was like, oh, okay. And you can ask, Cassie Opie, he's here, and you can ask Brendan Swafford, he's here. You can ask him those guys those questions as well. But, hey, they're concerned for their teammate, but they also we got the Olympic champion coming to town. So we got enough on our plate, each of us does. And Spencer, he's supportive of all those guys. So we got a player coach right now.
Excuse me. 2 more questions, Tom. We'll start with Cody and finish with Ross. So go ahead, Cody.
Brendan Swafford came out of redshirt this weekend at the Scuffle. I was kind of curious, 1, what went into that decision? And 2, what did you think of his performance down south? We
like Brendan Swafford. The taking him out of redshirt's a no-brainer. There was progression issues toward his degree. He's a very good student. It was just basically, snags, and why he wasn't eligible right away. So it's a no-brainer. And what did I think of his performance? I think that the things that we see in the practice room that hold him back are the things that hold him back in his matches. But I can tell you one thing, that he's better in the competition arena than he is in the practice room. So there's a nugget for you. And he's sitting right here in front of me. And that's a little bit of a message that we got to pick it up in the practice room a little bit. But we love your effort. We love your effort out in that competition arena. And he's been nothing but a great addition to our team. And I don't think that decision for him was an easy one, to transfer and leave a comfort zone. But he's gotten better. He fits in very well here. He's very coachable. A lot of guys don't know the sound of his voice. He doesn't say a whole lot, but we love him. Right? See, he's giving me a thumbs up right now, so it's reciprocal.
All right, Tom. Cody stole Ross's question, so we're good here. We'll hear from Brendan Swafford.
All right, awesome. Thanks. See ya.
See you Friday.